Welcome back to the Repro Review Show, where we talk about imported and ROM-hack games that have made their way onto reproduction cartridges. I'm your host, Doug, and today we're going to talk about a Christmas game that never made its way to North America, called Daze Before Christmas. Daze Before Christmas was developed by Funcom and released in 1994 by Sunsoft Entertainment for the Mega Drive, exclusively in Australia. Wait, why Australia? Christmas is during their summer, so why would you release a snowy Christmas game there exclusively? Oh well. It was also ported over to the Super Nintendo, with that version also getting a European release. The two versions are basically identical, but I chose to review the Sega version because that is the console it was developed for. A North American release was planned, but never came to be because the American division of Sunsoft went bankrupt right after the game was finished. Whoops. So that does make this game a bit of a rare collector's piece for PAL regions, and completely unavailable for anyone in the Americas. That has changed now, however, as the reproduction cartridge scene has made the game available for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis for a much more reasonable price than the $670 in box? Are you kidding me? $305 just for the cartridge? Yeah, right. That is way worse than I imagined. I got my copy for like $25. The story of the game is pretty simple and ow, that is hard to read. Okay, I'm gonna save you the trouble. Someone kidnapped the elves and the reindeer and stole all the presents, so Santa needs to get them back. They made a poem about it, but I am not gonna ask you to read that. One of the best aspects of the game is the aesthetic. I love the look of it. Days Before Christmas has a lot of fun with this concept. Santa is animated and lively, strutting around like he doesn't even care. And he can even hide in his hat. How cute is that? The level select is like an advent calendar. Each level has an opening portrait that adds a lot to the look and the feel of the game. The big bad guys are great to look at, and even most of the enemies play around with the general Christmas theme of the game. Santa fights against penguins, evil snowmen, renegade toys, a giant rat, and what even is that? It looks like something from a completely different game. Okay, so the game is sometimes a bit inconsistent. Like, the elves you save look like weird chipmunks, and the reindeer look like real reindeer. Some of it doesn't fit, but you know, it kinda adds to the charm. One moment you're fighting a rat, and the next you see some Batman villain. Anything could happen. The music is pretty good, with a festive feel that usually starts with a familiar Christmas carol, but puts a spin on it, turning it into something more of its own. It's not really stuff I would listen to in my own time, but each track fits the level and mood perfectly. Days Before Christmas is a fairly average action platformer. Some levels are pretty straightforward, moving left to right, and sometimes it's more tricky, as you need to explore the levels a bit more to find your way through. Santa shoots a little snow blast from his fingers, which defeats most of the enemies with a single hit. It can be upgraded to a fire blast, but only when it suits the needs of the level, like when you need to rescue one of the reindeer or kill that evil snowman. You spend a lot of time gathering presents in this game. There are three kinds of presents. Blue presents, which fall out of the bad guys when you defeat them. Red presents that are lying around that you can open, but anything could fall out of them. You could be rescuing an elf or releasing an enemy, getting some health, or it could be a bomb. No joke, that actually happens way too often. Someone spent a lot of time wrapping up cartoon bombs this Christmas. Golden presents are always good though. You want to find those and hopefully it'll be health or a 1-up. Santa handles pretty good. He's no Mario, but he gets where he needs to go. The platforming isn't too tricky, except in a couple levels where it's not super clear where the platforms are sticking out. I just recommend taking your time with these levels and you'll be just fine. Every now and then you'll find a cup of tea or hot chocolate or something, and that will turn you from Santa Claus into Anti-Claus. Yeah, he looks more like Satan, but the character is apparently called Anti-Claus. I've also seen some people refer to him as the Krampus, but I don't think that's accurate. Oh, I wish it was though. I'd love to play the Krampus. Are you kidding me? Anti-Claus is invincible and can smash through all the baddies with his bag, but he's unable to open presents. It's a funny little feature to the game, but truthfully there isn't that much of an advantage to playing Anti-Claus. It could have been a more interesting mechanic, but just based on the level designs, you can't really do much with him that you also can't do with Santa. The main difference is Anti-Claus can bash through these big guys, whatever they are supposed to be. There are 4 boss fights, none of which are particularly difficult, and after every boss fight you actually get to fly around the world and deliver some of those presents you've been gathering. It's a nice break from the typical gameplay, even if it is pretty simple. I love how there are themed obstacles depending on where in the world you are. The USA has flying footballs attacking the sleigh. It's like the programmers were just sitting there going like, what is an American thing? You seen Super Bowl? I actually don't know what accent that's supposed to be. Or where is this game from? It's Norwegian. Daze Before Christmas is good for what it is. A game like this is more or less made for novelty and to be played maybe once a year for people who just love to indulge in Christmas stuff once December rolls around. And truthfully, there aren't that many Christmas themed games out there like this. And it did seem like the developers did have a lot of fun with the theme of the game, getting the most out of its concept. The main issue with the game is that it's just too easy. It's easy enough that it teeters on boring. It isn't helped by the so-so level design. A lot of the levels are so straightforward that you could more or less play it on autopilot. If it weren't for the fact that the game is so fun to look at, it probably would be pretty dull. This includes the boss fights too, unfortunately, and I usually love boss fights. They take a few hits, but their patterns are super easy to adjust to. The exception is the giant rat called, Louse the Mouse. His fight was easily the most interesting. This does get better as the game progresses. Some of the levels do get a bit trickier and can take you by surprise, but even then, I was able to beat Daze Before Christmas from start to finish in a single sitting in less than 2 hours, with just one single continue used. With just a bit more practice, I bet I could do a lot better than that. On the upside, and I do mean this in a very positive way, this would be a great game for younger kids to get into retro games. Its forgiving gameplay and fun art design is perfect for kids. Plus, who doesn't want to save reindeer and elves during Christmas time? One nitpick is that I kinda wish the camera could be pulled out just a little. Santa moves pretty fast for a chubby guy. It doesn't leave much reaction time between seeing what's there and being hit. You can blast and defeat an enemy in time if you just keep shooting, but more often than not it means you don't actually see who you just shot. And that's a shame because I want to take a moment to enjoy the art of the enemy and just absorb what's going on, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's such a minor thing, but I did notice it. All in all, there just could have been a bit more spit and polish for the game. There aren't much in the way of glitches, but some details are just a little bit off. They don't break the game, but shows that there could have been a bit more thought put into the final product. For example, several times there is a red present right before you reach the final star at the end of the level. A lot of the time it winds up being a Santa hat, which gives you another hit point. But you're just finishing the level, so it serves no purpose because you start the next level with full health anyway. Like I said, it doesn't ruin anything, but it does show a lack of consideration for the details. Daze Before Christmas is a perfectly fine platformer that's art style saves it from being completely generic. It's not an instant classic, but playing Santa Claus is pretty novel. It's worth getting an affordable Genesis or SNES Repro if you want to play through once a year around the holiday season. But it is definitely not worth the hundreds of dollars to import the original copies. So in the end, I have to give Daze Before Christmas 3 out of 5 Rampaging Santas. That's a game worth playing. Thanks for watching the Repro Review Show, and we'll see you next time.